all the videos I thought I would want to film and edit and make and post after my first initial one on my YouTube channel. I didn't think it would be this. I've had a few other projects in the works for the channel that I either haven't finished or I just changed my mind about posting. I'm really not used to posting stuff, and I want to be very careful that I'm being considerate of other people's privacy and of my own privacy. And so I haven't gotten around to posting anything yet, but I just upgraded to Davinci Resolve Studio, so I edit on Davinci Resolve. I've been doing that for a few years, and I've been editing for like 5 years, over 5 years now. And in that time, I've tried a lot of different programs, and when I was looking for information about Davinci Resolve Studio, I ran across a few different videos like comparing the editors, and a lot of them haven't covered any of the ones I've used other than Davinci Resolve and Capcut and Premiere Pro. And so I just wanted to give my opinion on some different video programs that I'm not hearing being mentioned. I'll do my best to remember every program that I've used, and obviously I'll put images up so it's not just me talking to the camera, so you can kind of see. A lot of them I don't have access to anymore, so I'm not going to be sharing screen recordings. I might share clips of videos that I made in those programs though. But I'll just be using screenshots from the internet. Hopefully copyright free ones. If not, I guess I'll just credit the website. But anyways, I'll just start at the beginning, which is when I first started editing, I didn't really use an editor, but I did use the Microsoft Photos like built-in editor.
The current computer I'm using to edit on is a Mac, but it has like a Windows display, so it's kind of weird. But I still have my Windows laptop that I've had for a while. I only ever had 2 of them. First one I had for a few years, and then this is the newer one that I got when I upgraded to another version of one of the programs I would use in the past, because I was worried that the old one wouldn't run well enough.
And Microsoft Photos Editor has had some upgrades since I've used it. It used to be really simple. You had like music that you could pick from, and it would like auto adjust, which was kind of cool. And you could add text, but overall it was very limited. And you could only cut it like one time, like the beginning or the end or something. And I think they've updated some stuff like that, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially because a lot of people aren't filming on their laptop. It has a very specific use, although I did like the auto-generated videos. Sometimes they would be really cool, actually. Ignore the changing lighting. I'm sitting in front of my screensaver. I started getting a little bit more into editing, and I decided to upgrade to Corel Videostudio, which I'm surprised I don't hear talked about more, because on the website they would have contests and stuff, and there'd be a fair amount of people who entered them, and so I always found it kind of strange that it's just never mentioned anywhere. Like, there were barely any tutorials. I had to go to their website to find tutorials for it. It's kind of strange. I think it used to be more popular, but the version I had was Corel Video Studio ×7, which was from like 2014, 2015, so it was pretty old even when I was using it. Overall, pretty limited. It kind of had the feel of like a middle grade editing program. It definitely had a learning curve compared to Microsoft Photos, and I would go back and forth a lot. But overall, it wasn't, I picked up on it pretty quickly, even though I was young. Well, younger than I am now. I'm still young. But it's really outdated, and it definitely, you know, a lot has changed since, like, the mid-2010s. So I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone to use now. It was also very slow on my computer, and the only reason I was using it is because we bought them on sale, which the Corel Video Studios are not free. They are actually somewhat expensive. I think I've seen them for, like, just under $100 or something. I don't know. I can look it up. I'll put a picture on the screen. I then upgraded to ×8, which was from 2016, and I used that for, I think, the most years out of my editing, which it definitely worked, and I liked it, and it was good for a program at the time. But if you were to be getting into editing now, I would not recommend it. Again, it was very slow, and it had some weird things, like you couldn't use the spacebar to play it, and like all this random stuff that's just, but I used it for a long time. I actually tried out the 2019 program. I don't remember why we owned it. I was using it on my dad's computer, but I didn't like it. They updated it a lot, and it wasn't nice. I don't remember a whole lot of it other than it kept crashing. So I don't know if that's the best option. Meanwhile, in school, on the bus, once I got my Chromebook for school, I would edit videos on a program called Filmora Go. I have no idea if it's still the same. That would have been about 4 years ago. And it's not a great program. It's great for what I did, which just makes silly little videos. It had some nice built-in music. It had some pretty cool transitions. I can try to show clips, but again, a lot of the videos that I made involved other people, so it's going to be hard to show some clips. I wouldn't recommend it for like actually editing. It's more just kind of like a montage thing. Like if you want to make a video and you're not experienced in any way, shape, or form, and you happen to have that program available to you and you just have some photos and you want to throw them into a slideshow, then I think it's good for that. I think it's had updates, or it's got like a paid version now. I don't know if it's the same at all as what I had, but the one that I had I liked. But overall, very simple, kind of like Microsoft Photos, like on the same level as that, like not good for editing. And then I took an editing class at school, well, like a video production class. And there were 2 programs that we used for that, and I took this class for 3 years, and the 2 programs were iMovie and WeVideo. Out of the 2, I think WeVideo is better. A lot more people, this is probably one of the programs that people are actually going to recognize that I've mentioned so far, is iMovie, and I think iMovie is fine. I made a video out of every single like movie template, which I don't know why, out of all the templates they could have put in the app, they chose to do like movie trailer style templates, and that's it. It's a strange choice, but they are fun to make, although they have like no real purpose other than look at this silly video I made, or for like kids when they're messing around with filming stuff. If I had had access to it when I was younger, I definitely would have made use of it. The only problem is that obviously iMovie is limited to Apple products. But if you have it, I believe it's free, so that might be a good option if you're looking to start editing. But out of those 2, WeVideo is definitely better. You do have to pay for it, but my school got the subscription to it. I don't know how good the free version is, but the paid version is nice. It has a good library of effects and all that. It can be lagging, and it's also web-based, and it's the only web-based one I've mentioned so far, I believe. And so it's not the most convenient, and it's probably not what I would recommend if you're looking to get into editing, especially because it's not free. But it was better than iMovie, and I would kind of go back and forth between the 2 programs in school, but it was kind of unnecessary to be doing stuff in iMovie, other than the fact that then I didn't have a billion clips. It was just like one compressed file. But there was really no reason other than I liked the way it, like, the timeline dragged and stuff better than WeVideo. It was just not intuitive, but it was just cleaner, like a cleaner program. Like, it looked nicer. Like, the timeline thing moved nicer. It was a little bit less lagging. But WeVideo definitely had a lot more stuff, like pre-built-in stuff that you could use for the videos. And I did like a transition thing that I had to build myself, which it was not easy to do that. Like, I could have done that very easily in any of like the Corel programs or the programs I use now, but on WeVideo it was very difficult. So that's one where if you're going to invest in it, you're probably not going to be able to find more difficult stuff that you can do with it. You're going to be limited more to like basic stuff and stuff that's already pre-built. Okay, so the next one on the list is Capcut, which I originally had on my phone just for fun. I would make little montages. Like, if I just had a few photos where it wasn't really worth making a whole video, I would throw it into a Capcut, and that was actually before they introduced templates. And I would just make a little video, and it was really fun. And then they came out with the desktop version, which if you're looking to use it to actually edit and not just play around, which is what I do on my phone with Capcut, I just make random templates for no reason, and I don't share them or anything. It's just for fun. But if you're looking to actually edit with it, I would recommend the desktop version if you can. And I know Capcut gets a lot of hate. I was watching a video and it was like ranking 4 or so different editing programs, and the guy was like bashing Capcut, which was really entertaining, but I also don't think it's really fair to the program. It has a reputation, I think, because of the link to TikTok, which I didn't originally know. I don't even have TikTok. I did not know it was linked. It was like my friend told me about it. And also I know they've had a problem with people stealing other people's work and making it into a template, and then people use it unknowingly and then they've just stolen someone's stuff. But if you avoid all the templates and you don't care about the TikTok mixing whatever thing, I think it's a pretty good editor because it has a lot of basic stuff it's very intuitive to learn, and you can look up tutorials. A lot of people use it. It's easy to find stuff about Capcut. It's a very well-known program, so it's easy to find information about it. It's intuitive to learn, but you have access to more advanced effects as you learn more stuff. So you have graphs in there and keyframes in there and color grading, limited amount of color grading in there. And so as you get better, then you can explore more features without having to upgrade your program. And you don't have to pay for it, although there is a paid version of Capcut, which I think has actually become the downfall. I've had Capcut for, I think it's like 2 years now, between my phone and my computer. And over that time, they released the pro version of Capcut. I don't know if it was always there, it might have been, but they've really advertised it a lot more now. And I don't have a problem with the pro. They haven't, not now, I might not have noticed this, but from what I can tell, I don't think they've taken any used to be free features and turned them into pro features. I think they've just been adding new stuff that's pro. But the problem is that you can't filter it out, and it's all mixed in with all the other preset effects. So it can be really annoying to have to scroll past all of these pro features when it's like, I just want the free ones, go away. And there's so many of them. But if you do really like Capcut and you commit to getting the paid version, which I'm not sure if it's a subscription or a one-time purchase, I guess I can find that out and put the picture. They have really, really good preset transitions and text and just anything that you can imagine. I mean, a lot of people use Capcut to make TikToks, and I think you can pretty easily make a nice looking video, and if you don't mind that you can't really tweak all the effects that much, then it's not a bad choice, and it would speed up the editing process a whole lot. But what I found is, as a slightly more advanced editor, it can be frustrating when I just want to use Capcut to make a fun little video, and I want to add a shockwave effect or whatever, and it's only the color orange. I can't even change the color. I can only change the speed or something. And it's a little bit frustrating, so I do wish there was slightly more advanced options. But if you're a beginner, I think it is a really, really good choice, especially if you're not paying for it, because then if you want to upgrade, there's no consequence. You haven't wasted any money, and it's still a really good place to start. It's also pretty similar to a lot of other programs. So if you're new to editing, I recommend Capcut. I'm sure lots of other people do. And one really important thing if you're learning editing is being able to find tutorials on it, which means you have to use a common enough program to do that, and Capcut is one of those programs, and as much as people bash on it, I think it's a really good place to start. So I only have 2 programs left on this list, but we'll start with Davinci Resolve, which is my current editor. And I upgraded to this after looking for a different program, actually. I was looking into a program I saw being used by, I guess, an editor that I follow. Their account isn't about editing, but that's how I found them. I was looking into a program called Vegas, or Vegas Pro, or whatever. And that's an expensive program. And I ended up finding stuff about Davinci Resolve, so I was like, oh, this is interesting. And this was coming from using Corel Videostudio ×8. And it was free, which is what caught my attention. And it's a really advanced program. So Davinci actually started as a color grading program in Hollywood, and they've since expanded it to be an editing program. And I used the free version for probably 2 years, around the same time I started Capcut. Maybe a little bit after, I don't exactly remember. But I think it is a good program. There's a good amount of tutorials on it. It's a pretty well-known program. A lot of people have been switching over to it from the Adobe products just because Adobe is so expensive and Davinci is free and can do a lot of the same stuff. but the one downfall is the learning curve. I had heard it had a steep learning curve, but I was like, oh, I've been editing for like 3-4 years now. It won't be that bad. Like, I'm gonna catch on. It'll be okay. I watched hours of tutorials, and I'm still finding stuff that I didn't know. I definitely recommend watching the tutorials on the Blackmagic design page, which I didn't do until this summer, and I kind of regret that because I learned new stuff, but they're also mostly advertisements, so maybe don't start with those, but I don't know. I think I skipped the starting ones, so those are probably pretty helpful if you're looking to get into Davinci Resolve. I wouldn't recommend it for beginners. If you're a medium to advanced editor, I would say you'll probably be able to use it, but it has many different things. There's an editing tab, there's an audio design tab, there's a visual effects tab. But the studio version I upgraded to because I'm actually planning on getting a new camera this Christmas, hopefully. I'm looking to get, after a lot of looking into the camera, the Osmo Pocket 3. I think it's a good fit for me, but that's a whole nother video. I can't say much about the studio version because I haven't used it, but it does mean that you can export higher quality, it's supposed to run better, and you can use like auto tracking. There are tons of other features in the studio version, but unless you're doing more complicated stuff, then you probably won't need it. Obviously, you're going to find things as you use the free one that you would like to use but are kind of locked. But I never found a huge problem with it. It's not at all like Capcut where it's just like shoved in your face. There's only a few times, like there's an effects tab that's mostly all for the studio version, but most stuff in it is not studio, and you'll know if you used it. Like, it won't charge you, which I don't think any program really does that. And then the only other program that I can remember that I've used is Premiere Pro. I used it last school year because that's what the school had, and it was good. I haven't gotten the chance to use it that much. It was a lot like Davinci Resolve, which it's been compared to, but the nice thing about it is that it has it's much more intuitive. Like, I caught on to it really quickly, and even though I had already been using Davinci Resolve, it was still a completely different program, and it didn't really take me any time to figure out how to do things, although I did have to look up how to cut a clip. So if that is helpful to you. As far as able to find tutorials, I don't really know since I was only using it at school. But again, the downside is that Adobe products are so expensive, and obviously I'm not an adult. You can tell that by looking at me. And so I'm not getting like a stable income. I can't be spending money on really expensive subscriptions for who knows how long, and that's just not something I can afford. So I'm gonna be looking for things that are free or things that are cheap enough that I can save up for. And so even though the studio version of Davinci Resolve is close to $300, it's a one-time purchase and you get all the upgrades for free, and hopefully they won't change that. I've seen discussions about that. Usually that kind of stuff goes away, but I don't think it will be anytime soon because a lot of people will be really angry, although that's not stopped anyone else. So overall, those are all the programs I've used. My two top recommendations and the programs that I have downloaded on this main editing computer after I switched over from the laptop onto this one, which I've only gotten like less than a year of use, like maybe like 7 months or something on this new computer. But the only programs I've downloaded on it is Davinci Resolve, now the studio version, and Capcut, and those are my top two. I think Capcut is good for beginners, or just making quick edits, like something fun, something you're not getting paid for. It's just like, oh, here, let me make a video for my family of like these 3 photos I took on a trip or something. And then Davinci Resolve for actually editing or like doing paid gigs, I guess. A lot of the other programs are good. I think if you have access to Adobe programs, they're very good. If I ever get the chance to use After Effects, I definitely will, because I've looked at that program for a lot, and I definitely can't afford it, but it looks super cool. But overall, you can do a lot of things that you can do in After Effects. You can do them in Davinci Resolve. It's just a lot more complicated, but some of the fun of editing is trying to learn how to do new things, and even though it can be annoying to spend hours on something only to not like it, I really love editing, and so those are my experiences with different editing programs and my opinions on them. This is probably not the most entertaining video, but if you made it to the end, thanks for listening to my opinion. I know, looking at me, I don't seem like someone to take editing program advice from. I was so surprised, like, getting into this and just realizing how, like, male-dominated the field was. I don't know why I didn't expect that, but it was a little bit strange for me, because it felt kind of like an arts, you know? Like, art stuff is kind of usually, like, there's usually more women that are into it, so it's a little bit strange for me. But thank you so much for listening to this, if you did, the, like, 3 people that will. If you can subscribe, like, go ahead. I have no idea what I'm going to be posting on here, or how often. Like, I haven't posted a video, and I started this channel months ago, so a fair warning. But if you do decide to stick with it, thanks. I appreciate it a lot. Starting a YouTube channel has been one of my dreams ever since I started editing, so thank you so much. I hope this advice was helpful to you. Definitely go do what I have done and just watch a billion videos about the programs that you're looking into. Thanks, and bye!